Hello, how's it going, everybody? We are talking about politics today. So if you got a question about politics, hit me up in the chat and I will answer it for you. I am not here to debate. I am not here to fight. I am just here to answer your questions about politics. Oy, oy, oy. Ugh. Sorry, I get a little heated when I do these, so I gotta make sure to prepare. So yeah, if you got a question about politics, let me know in the chat. Hit me up. I will answer all of your good faith questions about politics. All you gotta do is put it in the chat and I will answer that question for you. I know that politics can be a little intimidating sometimes if you don't know that much about it. There was definitely a part of my life when I didn't know anything about politics, and I was always really worried about asking people about it because I thought that was going to get roasted, or people were going to say, "Why didn't you learn this in high school?" or some shit like that. So I don't do any of that stuff. I don't roast. I don't debate. I don't judge. You don't got to worry if you put a question in the chat. You're like, he's going to think I'm some sort of MAGA lunatic, or he's going to think I'm some sort of squishy lib. There's no judgments on either side of the aisle here, guys. You just ask your questions and I will answer them as best as I possibly can. Let's see here. Schultzy27 says, MAGA, question mark? Yes, I am not MAGA. I'm just saying if you're MAGA, I'm not going to judge you. Yeah, ask me anything that you like about politics. I am here to answer your questions. There's no debating, there's no roasting, there's no judgment. Shaka Zulu says MAGA is not a pejorative. I mean, it is depending on who you ask and depending on what just happened in the news, you know. Let's see here. M. Zelensky1 says Trump or Biden. Biden, every day of the week and twice on Sundays. All right, any questions about politics? Can I ask you something that's not political? Until the chat starts, popping off. Sometimes if the chat is popping off, then I will skip the questions that are not about politics. But while things are chill, you can ask me that Chaos the Stinky. Let's see here. MVC says, can't wait for Biden to take down TikTok. That is a very uninformed thing to say, MVC, because the TikTok ban doesn't go into effect until after Biden leaves office, and ultimate say in that goes down to Trump, because even if the law stands on the Supreme Court, he could just instruct his Justice Department not to enforce that law, not to enforce that ban. Jonathan, have you read any Karl Marx? I did, in college. Cam6, is Trump going to ruin America? I don't know if he's going to ruin it, but a lot of people are going to suffer because of, because of his policies and the people that he is staffing the government with in various agencies and his cabinet as well. Blackwing04Life says, I'm in the request. Yes, but I don't do any debates or anything like that, so I will deny all of your requests to join the live stream. If you just ask a question in the chat, that's how we do things here. Todd Heckendorn, is it probable that Trump is blocked from taking office? No, I do not believe that it is probable. I think that there are probably some legal mechanisms by which he could be blocked. So far, I have not seen anything to suggest that anybody's even going to attempt to block him from taking office. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely possible, but I don't think it's probable. Definitely not. Let's see here. Temp, do you think at any point Trump will just send the military after those who voted against him? I don't think that is. I think that's much more probable than him being barred from office. He has already said that that's something that he wants to do, and he has replaced all of his advisors with people that are just going to say yes to whatever crazy shit comes out of his mouth. I'm imagining there will be like jurisdictional fights between, his military, who, he's gonna appoint someone to the Department of Defense who's gonna be a sycophant, so he'll be down with sending the military wherever he wants, and local law enforcement and potentially even different branches of the military if people are not on board with doing the illegal shit that he wants to. All right. Let's see here. Grateful David 53 says Kamala 2028. I don't think so. It just depends on what she wants to do. I'm hoping that she does not have an ego about it and that she just goes wherever she thinks she can win and wherever she thinks that she can do the most good. Marty J says, when is 45 paying Eugene? I mean, he's going to delay it as long as humanly possible, and it's possible that as president, he can just say, yeah, fucking take it, whatever force you think you can muster to take that $5 million out of my hands, try it. I do not have any faith in the Trump government not doing shady shit to just enrich himself, and that includes telling people that he owes money to fuck off. MN says Kamala is just wildly unpopular. Dems would win if she retires. I don't think that that's accurate at all. Shannon, if you're liberal, there's nothing anyone needs to know from you about politics. Wow, what a mean thing to say. That just because I have different political beliefs than you think I have nothing valid to say? Wow, what a mean thing to say. Let's see here. Player 230, someone that Kamala only $75. Someone that yeah, you need to rephrase that, buddy. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see here. I'm not a nerd. 6689 says, what do you think of the woke agenda? I don't know what you mean by the woke agenda. I think that the right has a different definition of what woke is depending on what issue they think that they are addressing. And I think that anybody who would describe themselves as woke would talk about different priorities than whatever they're talking about on the right. So, as somebody who describes themselves as woke, I think it just has to do with treating people equally and fairly and not being a dick. If somebody says, I don't like it when you use that word to describe me, then don't use that word to describe them. It seems pretty easy to me. I'm in the Anthony Jeselnik school, and it's just it's not that hard. Do your job, that sort of thing. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Let's see here. Mactastic, how do Republicans propose lowering the cost of living without affordable housing, universal health care, etc.? So far, the only proposals that I have seen, which they believe are going to address the cost of living crisis, are tariffs and mass deportations. That is the only thing that I have seen. And if you talk to anybody who is an expert in this field, they will tell you that both of those things are actually going to raise prices. But I guess people didn't believe that because they voted for Republicans this cycle. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see. That is my prediction as well, that costs will go up because of those policies if they are implemented the way that Trump said he wants to implement them. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, White Cheddar Max says, can we beat corporate greed without a complete overhaul of the current system? Yeah, the system is designed for us to pick who runs the system. And so if people vote for people that will do, whatever you described in there, beat corporate greed, if people vote for those people that are going to beat corporate greed, then the politicians will have the mechanisms of the government, which is extremely powerful, to take on corporate greed. But people have to vote for those politicians, and they can't be distracted by dumb identity politics issues like, she's going to use my taxpayer dollars to turn my kids trans and shit like that. You have to start voting in a way that mirrors what you're interested in. And if you are somebody who votes already, then maybe you need to start working on getting other people to vote, because our voter participation numbers in this country are pathetic, and that includes midterms and primaries, everybody. Let's see here. Abby Marcos Calisto says, do you think a different candidate would have beat Trump? I'm not sure with 107 days to go. I think maybe if we had a primary, if Biden decided that he wasn't going to run again, I think maybe we would have had a better shot. But with 107 days, I think Kamala did as good as anybody could have been expected to do. All right, let's see here. K Wood Custom says, I just made 100K from Bitcoin because of Trump. Cool. Well, that's not a question, and I also do not believe that is accurate. Let's see here. All right. All right. Yeah, if you're spamming the comments with nonsense, you're going to get blocked. Let's see here. Gassy the Cat says, why do third party always lose? Third party candidates do not have the infrastructure to challenge either of the main political parties. Additionally, there's no real definitive policy difference between whatever third party is running and one of the main political parties. So what you end up happening is, the political parties can be divided into the extreme wings versus the centrist wings, and whatever third party is competing will align more closely with either the extreme wing of X party or the centrist wing of X party. So all that ends up happening is the third party splits the vote and, throws the election to the other person. It is just simple mathematics, as long as you don't have ranked choice voting. I'm also extremely skeptical of the third party candidates that just disappear for 4 years and then run for president, it seems like an ego driven cash grab to me. So every third party candidate can fucking miss me with that bullshit, especially since the parties are not on lock. Like, we have the power to change the candidates if we just voted for who we liked better in the primary. Let's see here. This guy says it's third party or go home. Cool, you're out of here. That is a bullshit narrative that literally only helps Republicans. Maximus Decimaritis says, why are Trump supporters bigots and ecists? I mean, I don't think they all are. I think that a lot of Republican voters get their news exclusively from right-wing sources, so they are probably misinformed about what the parties stand for and what the various politicians are guilty of. And, I think that there are probably a lot of really good Republican voters out there who are, they just got conned, they fell for the grift, and the grift was obvious to people like me and you, but not everybody gets their information from the same places, and some people suffer from, not having gotten a high level of education, which, again, high level education doesn't necessarily mean that you are a genius, and not getting an education doesn't mean that you're dumb, but there's an argument to be made that you learn something when you get an education, and maybe you are able to make informed decisions better when you get an education than when you don't get an education. So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why I think a person would be a right-wing voter. I do think that there is a section of people who just suck. They're either rich people who don't care who gets hurt, they just want their tax cuts, or they are racists who are like, I don't care who gets hurt, I just want there to be fewer brown people in this country. All right, Beebs says, why do you think some Democratic senators are flipping to GOP? Is it money? That's a really good question, Beebs, because I did see that. I saw that happened, I think, in 2020 in North Carolina, and it happened twice in Florida in 2024. And I'm honestly not really sure. If you look at the statements that the politicians made, they said that they did not want to operate in the minority. And so we would much rather be as the most far left Republican that exists in Florida politics, if it at least means that we can have a seat at the table and a say. I don't know how much I buy that argument, and I don't know. I just don't understand the value of it. It's possible that these candidates were never going to operate as Democrats, and that they just were Democrats to operate as spoiler candidates for the Republican Party. I have no idea. I haven't looked into it that deeply, but I don't think that it's the right move. I think that we need more representation from Democratic politicians, even if it means you have less bargaining power in your state government. I think it's important. I think it's important for that representation to be there. Jay Woody says, why do Smotsies vote red? Because their policies most align with the right wing in this country, and the politicians are, Smotsy sympathizers, So it doesn't seem like that it's that big of a stretch to me. Seems kind of obvious, So, yeah, let's see here. Happy Dude 333, we must revolt en masse to end the abuses of our government. I don't know how that's going to work, Happy Dude 333. I hear a lot of people talking big about that shit on social media. It honestly reads kind of myopic and uninformed to me, because when revolutions like that happen, like, a lot of people get hurt, especially marginalized communities. And additionally, we don't know what kind of government is going to arise from the ashes. We're all imagining some sort of socialist utopia, but it could just as easily be, fucking Stalin Russia shit, So yeah, I think it is it also depends on, like, what the Trump government is going to do, because it's possible, and I might even say likely, depending on who gets appointed to various seats in the Trump government, that they will leave us no option but to revolt. And that is a very scary thing to think about. But, I listen to Republicans when they talk, and that is the sort of shit that they say that they're going to do. And, we might have no choice. I don't think that that's what our goal should be, though. I think our goal should be to increase voter participation and get people to vote for candidates that will actually change the system to help people, and not just, pad the pocketbooks of the billionaire class and let giant corporations do whatever the fuck they want, poison our air and our water, and turn us all into fucking wage slaves and shit like that. Happy Dude says, Stalin was a far better leader than any U.S. president. All right, you're out of here. I do not believe that is good faith Mactastic, do you think revolution is the only way out of the situation? I don't. Mactastic, I do not. But again, it really depends on what the Trump administration does. It's possible that they do things that would make revolution the only thing that we can do. You know, if they make it so that we can't protest, if they make it so that we can't vote, if they continue to turn the screws and stomp on our necks, it's possible. You know, but we have no idea what this government is going to look like. Trump is a liar. He says a billion things. It looks like the right wing is fighting, you know, the centrists versus MAGA versus Elon. So, you know, who the fuck knows? Who knows? I'm scared. You know, I would much rather have had a Democratic administration because we would have a much better idea of what we would be up against going forward. But you know, you know, nobody who says that they know 100% what's going to happen in the future actually knows what's going to happen because we don't know. We don't know. Proud American U.S. Thoughts on how to make the healthcare system better? I mean, I would go for a universal healthcare or at least a public option so that you could pay into Medicare if you wanted. I think that we also need to look at what caregivers charge for things. A lot of people put the blame on insurance companies specifically, but there's also the problem of just inflated costs that are controlled by hospital administrators and shit like that. There was a big article that came out in Time magazine, I think in like 2012 or something, that basically talked about all of this and how, you know, all of these hospitals are just raking in money, even the not-for-profit ones. So yeah, I think that needs to be looked at as well. World Champ says Harris or Trump? Harris every day of the week. Silver Soul says abolish voting. That is a silly thing to say. Let's see here. User a whole bunch of numbers. We saw what we were up against for the last 4 years. I don't know what you mean by that. User a whole bunch of numbers. Dominic Lacoco. Why are states like Illinois losing population over the last 10 years? There's a lot of reasons why people decide to relocate from various states. I think that red state people like to use that as like we're so much better because everybody's moving from blue states to red states. I think more than likely it has to do with people either moving back in with their parents because they can't afford to live or they just want to move someplace where rents are cheaper. And now that doesn't necessarily mean that your state is better. It just means it's cheaper. You know, it's like if you buy shitty shoes from a cheap store that break after 5 days, that doesn't mean that those shoes were better. That just means that those are the only ones that people could afford. So I don't know if people moving to your state because costs have gotten so prohibitively expensive everywhere that they have to shop at the bargain bin states store. I don't know if that's the flex that you think it is. Mactastic, why do voters continue to vote based on campaign promises? I don't think that they do vote on campaign promises, you know? Like, there are people right now who voted for Trump who are like, I didn't think he was really going to do tariffs across the board. I didn't think he was really going to do mass deportations. And there are people who didn't vote for Harris who are looking at our policy platforms right now being like, oh, if I had known this, then I would have voted, or I would have voted for Harris instead. Let's see here. C. Forbes, hi, are you accepting guest requests? The answer is no. I don't do debates or interviews or anything like that. Austin Babcock, do you think Ronald Reagan was one of the best presidents ever, like most people do? Absolutely not. No, I think he was a terrible president. W. Page, is that Wendy, my friend from college? Gosh, you've got some real trolls today. Every day, Wendy, every single day. Jenny PSSY says, Palestine or Israel? I am for the citizens of both of those countries, and I'm against the ruling bodies of both of those countries. Both the right-wing Israeli government led by Netanyahu has been doing war crimes, and also Hamas has been doing war crimes. So it is clear that both governing bodies do not care about the citizens of either of those countries. I believe in all situations, if there was a conflict between two either, you know, states or nations or whatever, I think it is incumbent on the more powerful to make the moves to bring about peace. And under the Netanyahu government, Israel has not been doing that. And so I think that the citizens of both of those countries need to be a little bit more clear-eyed and make sure that they are being governed by people who give a shit about human rights. Let's see here. Go Blue says, did you vote for Trump? No, I did not. Let's see here. C. Forbes says, make me famous. I would cook you quick in a debate. Okay, if you say so. Tell you what, man, you can just go and tell people you cooked me. I don't care. You can just say, I cooked a cuck today, you can say. And, you know, get your kudos however you like. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not here to fucking roast people or debate people. Let's see here. Mark Lipka Solutions. Will you be attending the Nowmarch.organization rally to support the 14th Amendment. I haven't even heard of that, so I'll Google it and I'll see. Depends on when the rally is and where. Matthew Moore 1009 says, why did you vote for Kamala? There are a million reasons why I think that Kamala and every Democrat was better than Trump and every Republican. I could go on for hours. And so if you'd like me to answer that question for you, maybe give me something more specific to go off of. Like, oh, you're just writing cap all over again. Oh, so you're not actually here in good faith. You don't give a shit. You're just here to troll. Cool. You see what I get? You see what I get for treating people with respect, everybody? C, how did we get here? Surreal. I have a bunch of different theories about that. I think, widely agreed upon is the idea that the Democratic Party was suffering from an incumbency bias that was felt all around the globe. No, it doesn't matter what kind of government you are, left, right, center. Every, government felt a hit in their elections this year because everybody was upset about the cost of living going up everywhere, and so lots of people lost political power because of that. Whether the rising costs were their fault or not, spoiler alert, it was mostly not their fault. But I also have a different theory. I think that the information environment has become so thoroughly weaponized against the Democratic Party and has been so effective at convincing people to not vote for Democrats, to not vote at all, or to vote for right-wing candidates, that it really didn't matter what Democrats did or said, because the voters that we needed were all getting their news from social media, and social media is extremely easy to manipulate if you have a lot of money, and the richest people in the world were trying to elect Republicans, so do the math there. Additionally, the people that run these social media companies tend to want Republicans in office because Republicans are very open to cutting regulations that are good for the people but bad for profits. And people that run giant billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies only care about profits. They don't give a shit about who gets hurt in the process. And so they use their considerable power and money to help elect the kind of right-wing politicians that are going to help them continue to get rich and become even more powerful. Let's see here. Thoughts on globalization and its effect on the West and our hegemony. Do you feel like it's positive? I mean, it's a difficult question. It's very complicated because globalization does kind of help with global suffering. If you take it all at a net, it's like a little bit like we're helping to revitalize, third world countries by bringing production there. But at the same time, the introduction of Western capital can sometimes have a, I think I'm using this word correctly, deleterious effect on those nations, where sometimes authoritarians in charge of those governments will, suck up all of the profits and, just export all the resources. There are countries that have been destroyed by trying to play ball with Western countries. And so it's very difficult to add all of that together. I think if done well and run by people who have the best interests of their citizens in mind, globalization can be a net positive. But unfortunately, there's just too many people who have a lot of power and money who are just going to, if it's globalization or if it's, isolation, these people have enough money and power to make sure that they profit off of either one and hurt people off of either one. So I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say globalization is probably a net positive, but I think it's a real close game either way. Jenny PSSY says, what are your thoughts on third party? I've talked about this at length, so I'll give you the quick, the Cliff Notes version. I am skeptical of any third party that does not spend all of their time and energy building up the kind of infrastructure needed to win at the national level. Third parties that just run for president are just ego-driven, money grabs, full of shit, fucking ego, nonsense, and in some cases, weaponized by opposition parties and adversarial nations. So I don't fucking trust them. They can miss me with that shit. If they really want political power, then do the work of getting political power. The Working Families Party, I think, is a great third party. They do the work. They're not running candidates for president. They're building up their infrastructure and they're building up support. But yeah, Jill Stein can fucking miss me. RFK Jr. can fucking miss me. Cornel West can fucking miss me. Yeah, it's nonsense, in my opinion. Let's see here. Beach Chair Farmer. Is Trump's facade falling away before he is even in office? I mean, it just depends on what news you read. You know, like, this is where I think the information environment is completely, toxic. Because I thought that based on the first 4 years of the Trump administration, all the shit that got fucked up because of him and his incompetence and his corruption, that no human being would ever vote for him again. But the information environment being what it was, Biden won that election by 8 million votes, but because of the Electoral College, only 40,000 votes. And that is insane that the election between one of the most universally liked politicians on both the left and the right versus the most corrupt president we've ever had, who fucked up the COVID response so hard, told blue states to go fuck themselves. Bodies were being fucking piled up and taken out of hospitals with semi-trucks. Supply chains got fucked everywhere, which caused the massive inflation that we're feeling. He spent all of his time at Mar-a-Lago not doing work, actually just fucking playing golf all the time, charging Secret Service 3 times what they should have been charged for the rooms at Mar-a-Lago. Just fucking grift upon grift upon grift, incompetence, racism, just all that shit. There is still a large percentage of this population that either did not see that or didn't give a shit about that. And so I don't have faith that no matter how bad things get, that people that get their information off of social media are going to know about it or going to care about it or what, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's a calcification that is happening with American politics where it doesn't matter what people hear. They're just like, this is how I vote and this is what I do. And so I don't know. Yeah. I hope that we can all figure out how to address this, because I think that this is the issue, in my opinion. And my personal theory on this, if y'all want to take my advice, is you got to talk to people in person, because the internet is a fucking nightmarescape and you have absolutely no idea who you're fucking talking to. I am extremely skeptical of anybody who says that the move is to not vote or the move is to vote for the party that does not align with your priorities, because it will teach the party that does align with your priorities a lesson that you did not vote for them, which is complete and utter bullshit, People that say that both sides are the same, I'm extremely skeptical of, anything like that. But yeah, I don't know how to solve that problem. I really hope that somebody smarter than me can think of something. KJR 2025 says, do you think Elon will buy TikTok? I think so. It's possible. I mean, it looks like Trump is already making moves to try to stop the TikTok ban. If he stops the TikTok ban, then TikTok will not need to be sold to anybody. And so if, I would think that maybe he was setting it up for Elon to buy it if he was still going hard against TikTok, but he's not. So I don't know. I wouldn't put money on that. Let's see here. That man Sam, when are you going to stop yapping and do comedy? I'm literally right about to do that, but you're not going to see it because you're blocked. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Buddy says, Obama used the race card to hide election fraud. No, he didn't. Buddy, what an insane thing to say. And also to think. Let's see here. Petriford says, Larry Ellison wants to buy TikTok. I'm sure a lot of people want to buy TikTok. Sunshine Wildflower says, who are the Electoral College voters and how are they chosen? Do they get paid? If I'm remembering correctly, the Electoral College voters are appointed, and they're either appointed, depending on the state and the party, they're appointed by the governor or state reps. I don't remember exactly. I think it differs state to state, but they are basically appointed, and some states have a law that says that the electors need to vote for whoever wins the popular vote in that state. Some electors in certain states have a little bit more flexibility, but again, because they're appointed by the party that won the election, they're incentivized to continue just voting for whoever won the election. But yeah, I don't actually know if they get paid. That's really interesting. Lex, are politics for who is politics? I need you to clean up that question. C says we need to get rid of the Electoral College. I actually agree with that. And there is a thing called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact that the states can sign up for independent. And if enough states sign up for that, then we would effectively end the Electoral College without having to do a constitutional convention. So if you live in a swing state, call up your reps and tell them that you want them to sign up for the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. Tell them, because then we can get rid of the Electoral College, and that would be better. Temp says, with Elon at the helm and Trump on his knees, do we still get the crazy redneck Christian nationalism? Absolutely. You know, the money is the powerful force, and they will do whatever they can to continue to remain in power. And if that means appeasing to right-wing psychopaths like Christian nationalists, then that's what they'll do. You know, and they like it when we all fight. And so riling up Christian nationalists to fight against, you know, Jews or Muslims or brown people or whatever, that only serves their purpose. And it forces us to deal with a fight that is not the fight. The fight is against the billionaire class and the rest of us. And the billionaire class includes the right-wing politicians who are in league with them. Let's see here. Jack Bayer 12 says, who you vote for? Democrats up and down the ballot. Infected Wi-Fi. Do you think Trump's FTC will continue the antitrust action of Biden's? I do not. The only antitrust that Trump's FTC will do will be against companies that he does not like. And if those companies that he does not like give him enough money or SSD enough, then he will reverse that policy decision. He is an extremely easy to manipulate person because he is greedy and corrupt. So if you give him enough money, he will do whatever you say. If you go out on the world stage and you say, Trump's the best, he's fucking great, he's so fucking incredible, then he will rule in your favor on any issue that you require. Let's see here. AJ, who will Dems run in 28? I have no idea. And it's not about who Dems will run. I don't understand where this narrative came from. Like, we choose who runs for president. Like, we vote in the primary for who gets to run for president. So Dems don't pick who runs in 28. Let's see here. Soros, Gates, Bezos, they all invest in politicians and are billionaire. Yes, Brain Connor, but you are missing the details, which is that most billionaire donations go to right-wing candidates, Republican candidates. 75% of all billionaire donations this cycle went to Republican candidates. Most billionaires are right-wing because the right wing is what makes them the most money and collects the most power for them. Republicans like to cut regulations. Rich people love it when you cut regulations because that means they can do whatever the fuck they want. So yes, are there Democrats that take billionaire money? Sure. But are there Democratic billionaires? Sure. But we're talking about scale here, you know, and there's a difference between the size of an ant and the size of an elephant. And that's the difference that we're talking about here. Bubba Ganoush 51 says, do you think riots are ever justified? If so, examples, please. I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, I don't condone violence of any kind. There is an expression, those who make progress impossible make violence inevitable, or something like that. I forget who said it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to advocate for that sort of a thing. But you know, sometimes the people are going to do what the people need to do to fight against authoritarian governments sometimes. And I don't know of any riot that I can think of that I was like, that was a great riot. You know, they might exist, but I don't know about them. Let's see here. Daniel Miller, right wing is most willing to wear fascist cape to administer austerity. That is completely, what do you call it? That is completely accurate. Curly Girly says, who is Eric Garland? God damn. I don't think is there an Eric Garland? I know there's a Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland was the attorney general during the Biden administration. Is that what you're asking, Curly Girly? If there is an Eric Garland, I might be just getting them confused with Merrick Garland. Let's see here. AJ, I'll be cordial. We probably agree a lot. Are you making Roberto Clement says JFK 3 times in a row. That's not a question, buddy. Badger 75. Will Mike Johnson be fired? I have no idea. I'm very interested to see how this speaker fight breaks down because I know that there are some people in the Republican Party who are going to gun for Elon Musk to be the House Speaker, and you don't actually need to be an elected official to be House Speaker. Anybody could do it. I could do it, you know. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. Mike Johnson, he appears to be enough in the pocket of MAGA that his job would be safe, but I don't know. And the House is where they're a little bit, the right on in the House are a little more cuckoo bananas than the ones in the Senate. So I don't know. I think his job is probably safe, but who the fuck knows, man. Curly Girly says, I can't believe nobody knows who this guy is. I think that's on purpose. So there is an Eric Garland in addition to there being a Merrick Garland? Good Lord. Infected Wi-Fi, anything positive to look forward to in the next few years? I mean, here's the thing. If you're wondering how we survive the next 4 years, the answer is helping. We need to help each other. You feel better when you help. You feel better when you're part of the solution. So just don't be despondent. Don't be cynical. Don't despair. Don't give up. Just do the work. And if we all do a little bit of work, then nobody has to do a lot of work. That's the way that we get through this. Go find the helpers and join them. You don't need to start your own organization. You can join Indivisible. You can join Run for Something. You can join Vote Save America. You can follow AOC on social media. She seems like she's got her finger on Resistance 2.0. Oh, JFK said that. Did JFK say that? Doesn't seem like a very JFK thing to say. Let's see here. Everyone needs to dig on Eric Garland and what he is currently working on. Trump is going down. Curly Girly, I'm so suspicious of this, Curly Girly. Because you say that Trump is going down, and you're talking about Eric Garland, who is not Merrick Garland, who if you said Merrick Garland was working on something, then I'd be like, okay, well, at least this seems like it's based in reality, at least a little bit. But I'm skeptical, Curly Girly. I'm very skeptical. Let's see here. Death by Logic says, way better than the left policy. What is way better than the left policy? Let's see here. William Peters 579 says, what will tariffs do to inflation? They will increase it. Polywalk says, what's your opinion on H-1B immigration? I'm fine with immigration. Like, I don't understand why people are so fucking, they've got such a, fucking bug up their ass about immigrants coming to this country. Immigrants are a net positive on this country, so I don't really understand what the fucking issue is. I think that I worry that the H-1B visa is basically just like code for we're taking immigrants from white countries instead of from brown countries. Which always seems to be the subtext of the right wing's anti-immigration policies is we just don't like Mexicans or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with immigration. I worry that the H-1B1 visas or whatever they're called are just going to be a dog whistle for let's only let white people in. Let's see here. Infected Wi-Fi says, can Congress repeal a presidential tariff? Actually, that's a really good question. I don't know. Because I think if they could, they would probably need a veto-proof majority. Because any other legislation would have to then get signed by the president. So yeah, that's an interesting question. I would Google that. I will Google that when this live is over and get an answer for you, because I actually don't know that. That's interesting. But yeah, my guess is that they would just need a veto-proof majority to do that. Let's see here. Temp, how do you think Christian nationalism survives or evolves in Elon's scientific space-faring future? I don't think Christian nationalism have anything to do with science or the people in charge being scientists or whatever. First of all, Elon Musk is a scientist the way that a bird that gets hit with a football is an athlete. He has the impression of being somebody who gives a shit about science and logic and reason, but he actually doesn't. He's just the same as every other fucking billionaire piece of shit. He just wants power and money, and he doesn't give a shit who he hurts in the process. He is the world's wealthiest man, which means he is the world's least trustworthy and most corrupt human being. As money and power corrupt, and absolute money and absolute power corrupt absolutely, as the expression goes. But yeah, these ideologies, they don't need to mesh with reality at all. White nationalism, these people, they don't give a shit about science. They use computers and cell phones. They like watching digital movies, and then they say that the Earth has only existed for 4,000 years. Shit like that. There's no connection there. I do not believe that any sort of new enlightenment or scientific revolution that takes place in the near future is going to change the ethos of Christian nationalists one bit. Let's see here. Shade Guy 8770 says, anyone coming legal. I am Mexican and became a citizen at 23. It was an amazing feeling. Congratulations, Shade Guy. But I would hope that you would understand that not everybody has the resources to do that. You know, the anecdotal evidence of I was able to do it, why can't they? It's a little myopic, it's a little short-sighted. You know, can you use your imagination to try to imagine a person who can't do what you did? You know, I made this video that did pretty good on social media a bunch of years ago about how Meghan McCain had a baby and then came out in support of family leave because having a baby made her realize that family leave is important. And I'm like, yeah, that's the Republican ethos in a fucking nutshell, man. It's like, it's not a problem unless it happens to me. Elon Musk did the same shit with fucking Alex Jones. He didn't let him back on Twitter after he took over because he said that Alex Jones monetized the death of children, and he was upset about that because his child died. And it's like, you know, not everything has to happen to you for it to be a fucking thing, you know? So let's try to use our imaginations. Let's read a book, you know? Let's turn on the news and try empathizing with other human beings. Laura, anecdotes are not data is one of my favorite phrases. Completely agree with that. Opinion on the ICP split between Bordiga and Damon. I don't know what that means. Butter, we are not the world's welfare department. If you can't afford to become a citizen, you shouldn't come. Cool. Well, you don't need to be on my live. That's how you feel. Let's see here. Angela, I want to know, where do you stand with Tarrant County, Texas not being recognized at a part of USA? This is the first I've heard of it, Angela, so I'd have to Google that because it sounds a little made up. Corgi, 1676 is O'Connell or AOC. AOC, I like progressives, I like younger politicians, you know, that's just where I'm at. Xenocat says, wow, what are you wowing, Xenocat? Let's see here. All right. Paris Marie, wait, did you see someone on Blue Sky is clocking your tea for filth? I did not. Can you post that link? Paris Marie, please do. You can send me a DM with the deets. If you know, you got a link for me, I am interested in that. Sophia Marseille says, made a sober year today. Congratulations, Sophia. I'm very proud of you, and I'm not going to excoriate you for that not being a political question. Xenocat, the Tarrant County statement, Texas is crazy. Can you confirm that is accurate, Xenocat? You're a regular. I trust you. William Peters, 579, does increasing inflation mean higher prices? Does that help middle class, lower class? It does mean increasing prices, and it will not help the middle class or lower class. It will only help the billionaire class because it will make people more desperate. It will mean that they are not able to buy the things that they need to live. And desperate people are easy to manipulate, and that is what the billionaire class wants. Brooksy, I have a question. Why is there people who don't like Trump? Because Trump is like a notoriously shitty person. He is a certified rapist. One of the women that have accused him of rape was 13 years old at the time. He was really good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He said he was really good friends with Diddy, who is also on trial for sex crimes right now. He was the most corrupt president we've ever had. He was an extremely incompetent president. He is easily manipulatable by just either giving him money or stroking his ego. There are so many things that are wrong with Trump that I could go on for hours. Entire books have been written about all the things that are wrong with him as a human being. And the fact that you think that it's weird that people would not like Trump, I think is weird. Let's see here. Shannon W432, why does Trump always say China is ripping us off? Because it's an easy talking point. I think that his crowd likes to otherize, and because citizens of Asia they look less like his followers, to demonize those people. And we also they're like they're a massive trade partner of ours. They are financially and militarily, they are probably our closest rival. So yeah, shit like that. Let's see here. John Fox, did you see the movie The Apprentice? I did, and I often feel this about movies that are like biopics about right-wing people or right-wing organizations, like that movie that was about all the sexual harassment cases that came out of Fox News. I forget what it was called. It was called like the one where Charlize Theron played Megyn Kelly and shit like that. So I feel the same way about that movie as I feel about The Apprentice, which is that they were accurate about how shitty those people are, and at the same time too nice. Those people are so bad. Those people are so bad. The organizations are so bad that you really can't make a movie that is mean enough about them, in my opinion. What the fuck was that movie called, anybody? Brooksy, are you being paid by the Biden-Harris administration? No, I am not. Let's see here. Brooksy, it seems like the majority of the world loves Donald Trump. Well, they don't, Brooksy. Let's see here. Sophia Marseille, Kamala was so qualified. What was the disconnect? I think people were just getting shitty information off of social media. Like, those are the voters that we needed. People that read the news, people that pay attention to politics, those people voted for Democrats by 80-20. You know, the 60% of Americans that get their news off social media are the ones that we needed. And social media is really easy to manipulate and get people to do what you want them to do. So billionaires put a lot of money into creating these troll and bot farms that spread a bunch of narratives that are designed to hurt the Democratic Party and help the Republican Party. That's what happened. You know, if you poll people in swing states about why they voted, they had wrong beliefs. They believed wrong things. And that is the reason why they voted the way they do. And then when they became disabused of those narratives, then they were like, oh my God, and they regretted their vote. And that is the reason why Can I Change My Vote Googled trended after the election. Let's see here. Chewy Sith Slayer says, bro, you are still living in La La Land. Cool, that's not a question about politics, so you are blocked. Brooksy says, why did Hollywood not hate Trump until he decided to become president? They hated Trump before that. Brooksy, you are asking questions, but you are this close, my man. Marty J, why do Republicans think Dems paying you so ignorant? I think because Republican trolls are being paid. Like, we know that Tim Pool was being paid by Russia to spread right-wing propaganda, and so I think they just assume that everybody is exactly as shitty as people on the right are, so they assume that the Democrats are doing the same thing. You know, it's also that thing that the people on the right do where every accusation is an admission. You know, like, they accuse the left of doing what they do so that people think that both sides are the same, but they're not. Let's see here. Gage Treckler says, do you believe that other countries' leaders fear Trump? I don't. I think that they fear him being a psychopath who will do whatever he wants, regardless of who gets hurt. I think that they fear that he will help Russia continue to annex other countries, but I don't think that they fear him like, oh my God, he's such a strong leader. Oh, he's so smart. He's playing three-dimensional chess here, you know, shit like that. Jenny PSSY says, what do you think about Trump trying to be allies with Russia? Well, so here's the thing. You know, Democratic administrations have tried to strengthen our tie with Russia. And they tried to do it in a very smart way where they're like, listen, we have a history. It's weird. You're doing a lot of shitty things, but, you know, we're the more powerful nation here. So we're going to take the steps of continuing peace. That's why they had this whole like reset button that they did during the Obama administration where we're resetting our relationship with Russia. So all the bad shit in the past, that's all in the past. Let's just build it going forward. And Putin was like, cool. And they just kept on acting like a dick. And that's where you see photos of like Obama, like an inch away from Putin's face, like staring him down like fucking Eye of the Tiger, man. But Trump goes into office, and instead of just like, you know, continuing that work of trying to, you know, use whatever leverage necessary to get an adversarial nation on board, he just gave away the shop. He was just like, Russia, I'll do whatever you want. Just let's be friends. You know, he did the same shit with North Korea. You know, him, you know, having talks with Kim Jong-un did not normalize relations with America. It didn't stop their nuclear program. We got nothing out of that, and North Korea got everything. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. Brooksy, remember, Obama and Biden toppled do Ukraine government. Yeah, Brooksy, you are just spreading right-wing propaganda now. Sorry, buddy, but you are out of here. Okie dokie. Morsi, what do you think needs to be done in order to deprogram the MAGA cult back into decent people? That's a really good question, Morsi, and I do not 100% know what the answer to that is, but I have a theory. My theory of the case is this. I think that the right wing of this country is so powerful and they have so much money that I do not know if any political organization, including the Democratic Party, can stop them. I think that they need all of our help, because even if we all donated all of our money, the income inequality that exists right now is such that all of our money pooled together doesn't even equal the amount of money that one rich asshole has. And the Republican Party has all the rich assholes. So I think we all just need to be mobilized. And I think we all need to talk to people in person and not over the internet, so that we actually know that we're talking to a real person. And, you know, the work of convincing people to come to your side happens in person, because that way they view you as a person, as opposed to just like a, you know, a random bot on the internet who they can tell, you know, they can call you a cuck and then, you know, like log off and feel like they did a good job of owning a lib today. So it has to happen in person. And I think we all have to do it. I think we all need to be talking to people about this stuff in person. I think that is the only way that we deprogram these narratives that are creating the political environment that we have today. And those narratives are not just Republicans good, Democrats bad. Those narratives are both parties are the same. If you don't vote, then it will teach them a lesson and they'll be better. Or if you vote, you're complicit in a corrupt system. Or we should be voting for the worst possible candidate, then maybe the system will come crumbling down and we can build a socialist utopia from the ashes. Like anything that encourages people to either vote for Republicans over Democrats or not vote at all or disengage in politics entirely, anything like cynical or, despairing like that, like those are all the narratives that we need to be counteracting. It's not just, who has a better policy platform. It is worth it to be involved and it is worth it to be informed. Like that's what I think is the answer. Now, can that somehow be done on a massive scale without each individual citizen of America doing it in person, face to face? I don't know. Maybe there's some tech genius out there who can create the social media platform that fixes all the problems of the other social media platforms, can actually be a cause of good. But I don't see that happening anytime in the near future. And, if you are that tech genius, go for it. But this is the only thing that I can imagine being the solution to that problem. JS, what do you think if Biden stayed in versus forcing in Kamala? Would he have had a better shot? All the polling suggests no. All the polling suggests that once Kamala got into the race, the polls started increasing in Democrats' favor. And we see this more clearly in swing states than non-swing states. Like where she was campaigning, where she was doing the work, she performed better than even deep blue states where she was not campaigning. So yeah, I don't think anybody could have done a better job with the 107 days that she had to mount her presidential campaign than Kamala Harris did. I think that the only thing that maybe would have swung the needle in our favor was if Biden had not run for a second term. Let's see here. Morsi, I appreciate the perspective. Thank you. I appreciate you, Morsi. Thank you for being here. JX Fitz says it was manufactured. What was manufactured? J Carvadio, and what about the Hunter laptop narrative or the Russia collusion narrative? Both have been proven wrong. They have not been proven wrong, J Carv. They have just been proven different than what you thought they were. The Russian collusion hoax was not a hoax. There was collusion between the Trump campaign and the government of Russia. We know that to be a fact. The Mueller investigation found that to be true. He also said in the Mueller investigation that there was not enough evidence to prosecute, but there was enough evidence to suggest that collusion did happen. Now, why was there not enough evidence? Because the Trump campaign was also guilty of obstruction of justice because they destroyed a lot of records that they were told not to destroy. So you can miss me with that shit that says that the Russian collusion thing was a hoax, because it literally was not. That's not what the Mueller report said. That's what Bill Barr said, and Bill Barr was in the pocket of the Trump administration because he wanted to be attorney general. So yeah. As far as like the Hunter laptop narrative is concerned, there is so much bullshit surrounding the Hunter laptop that I don't even know what you're talking about. Like there could be 1,000 narratives that you are talking about with the Hunter story. I don't think that there was anything on the Hunter laptop that suggested that the Biden campaign was corrupt or that Biden was bad or whatever. And that's what the narrative that was coming out of the right. And so, like, I don't know what you want me to say, buddy. Like, the fact is that social media narratives help the Republican Party and hurt the Democratic Party. And we have the data. Like, this is not in dispute at all. So, yeah. Let's see here. Global over on YouTube says it is 2024. Banning chatters is last century logic. I mean, it's my life. I can ban whoever I want. The Ilmoth. How do you actually change minds instead of owning someone? There's an expression, meet people where they are. That's part of it. You got to find common ground. You find something that you agree on. If you're talking to somebody who gets all their news off of Breitbart, then at least you need to start with, can we agree that we have different viewpoints because of where we get our news? And then they'll say, yes, but where you get your news is wrong. Okay, so we can agree that we have different perspective based on where we get our news. Okay, how can we figure out which news organization is accurate? Because so far, I'm not seeing any evidence that where you're getting your news is more accurate than where I'm getting my news. And that can be a place to start. Appealing to people on an emotional level is another thing that has been scientifically proven to be more convincing than just like facts and data. They have done studies on this where you can take somebody who is a 10 out of 10 anti-abortion and you talk to them about why you had your abortion, and that can change minds. And, you know, but you have to be cool about it. You know, you have to not be like, you have to not get into a fight, and you have to, you know, be open and willing to engage. And that stuff's really hard. It's easier to call somebody an idiot or a cuck and then just log off. All right. KD Mon over on Twitch says, oh my God, not know what to ask. There was a stand-up comedian a while ago that I heard on the radio. I don't know who it was, but he had a joke about a telephone survey about some issue, and he said that 45% of people were for this issue, 45% of people were against this issue, and 10% of people were undecided. And he goes, who calls into a phone interview to tell somebody that they are undecided on an issue? That they have no opinion on the issue. You know, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about your, oh my God, not know what to ask. Because there's no pressure. You can just sit there in front of your computer and not type anything and think of something. That's adorable, KD Mon. Thank you for being here, and Happy New Year to you as well. Seth Joslin says, to be honest, I have no idea who you are. Haha, so who are you? Oh, my name's Jarrett. I'm a comedian, but I am also very passionate about politics. I'm also very well informed about politics. And so in addition to doing work as a stand-up comedian, I tour professionally. I also like to do these lives where I answer questions about politics because I believe in creating a space where people can ask questions about politics without fearing that they're going to be judged or debated or told that they're dumb for not knowing something. Those are all experiences that I had when I was first trying to learn about politics. And also, I believe in spreading positive narratives that increase engagement in politics as opposed to people being cynical and throwing up their hands and saying the system is broken and corrupt and there's nothing we can do about it, so fuck everybody but me. So yeah, that's what I'm up to, Seth Joslin, and you can see all my videos on YouTube and all over social media if you want to have a better idea of who I am and what my whole fucking vibe is, what my whole fucking thing is, you know? K.A. Demon says, press 1 to the office, press 2 to ask issues. I hate those phone replies. I just want to get someone I can address my problem. Yeah, completely agree with that. All right, let's get back into these TikTok comments. Jenny, PSSY, what do you think the worst thing to come in 2025 from the government? I think attacking media is probably going to be the worst thing because we're not going to be able to trust our news, even you know, less than we trust it already, because the Trump administration is going to be unleashed against the news organizations. In the first administration, he talked a big game about like suing the pants off of New York Times and stuff like that, and then everybody, like, you know, subscribed to the New York Times and the Washington Post and everything, and they had all this extra money and all this extra subscribers, and they felt like they were in a position to be powerful against the incoming authoritarian Trump administration. But I do not know that they feel that kind of confidence now, because so many news organizations have already bent the knee and kissed the ring. I think they are expecting the unchecked power of the Trump administration to come down hard on them. And so even the most milquetoast, tepid criticisms are going to be attacked at a level 10 by the Trump administration. And it's going to make news organizations really trigger shy. And they are going to not want to publish things negative about the Trump administration. And that means that we're not going to find out what's going on. We're not going to know what our government is doing. The Trump administration is already wildly opaque. Like, they did this in their first administration. Like, they were revoking freedom of information, points that previous administrations were open about, and nobody said fucking boo about that. Nobody was like, oh, whatever happened to transparency, blah blah blah. Whereas, Democratic administrations are like, we are opening up our visitor log so that you know exactly who the president is meeting with, and the Trump administration was like, no, fuck you, you don't get to know who we're talking to and when and shit like that. So, when world leaders meet, there are supposed to be translators and record keepers in those meetings, and Trump was like, nah, fuck that, these are my secret meetings that I get to have with whoever I want. So yeah, transparency, not being able to know if the news that we're getting is accurate, not the news not having access and being able to tell us what's going on. Like, I think that that's going to be a really big issue. I think the weaponization of the Justice Department is probably going to be another big one, where if we get a Kash Patel at FBI or whoever he's got for Attorney General is going to be, creating sham investigations in order to either intimidate or throw political rivals in jail, or throw adversarial news agencies in jail, or fine them some astronomical fee so they have to shutter their doors or something like that. All that stuff is really concerning. And I think voting rights also, like, they're already talking about making voter ID mandatory, which is going to decrease voter turnout. It's going to hurt marginalized communities' ability to vote. There's a lot of ways that this is going to go bad, and we all have to have our head on a swivel, cutting safety regulations as well. Like, we're not going to be sure that our air is clean and our water is clean. Elon Musk is talking about cutting regulations for self-driving cars, so his Cybertrucks can just be mowing over people left and right, and there's not going to be any laws saying that there's any problem with that. Shit like that. All right, Seth Jocelyn. One thing I like to hold to is to understand the other side is to know them well enough to appreciate something they did, even if I disagree. What is something you can appreciate about what Trump did? I don't believe in that, Seth Jocelyn. I don't believe in centrism for centrism's sake. I believe in calling shit out when I see it. And the fact of the matter is the Republican Party is a lot worse than the Democratic Party, and Trump is a lot worse than other Democratic politicians. And so I'm done with sane washing the Republican Party and Trump specifically. So yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the good things that Trump accidentally did while he was being the most corrupt and incompetent president we've ever had. Let's see here. Good to know. Bye. All right, cool. Later, Seth. Good Lord. All right. Nathan Bailey says, so you're a liberal spin artist. I am not a liberal spin artist, but you are a person with terrible grammar. All right. Let's see here. 2019 Veloster says, opinion on the overreactions to the election results. What do you mean by overreactions? Like, do you think that people should not be worried about the election results? Do you think that people are overly cocky about the election results? Like, what are you referring to exactly? 2019 Veloster. K. Damon says, I am not American, I am European. Are you a stand-up comedian? I am a stand-up comedian. And welcome, K. Damon. If you ever have any questions about American politics, I am here for you. Let's see here. While you load, we had destiny, now we got faith. I do not know what you mean by that. Lord of Aram says, my kids are on IEPs. How do you think things will go if the Department of Education gets dissolved? I'm not sure what IEPs are. I'm guessing by your question that it's something to do with assistance programs that children need in school, either children with disabilities or children from low incomes. And if they get rid of the Department of Education, all those programs are going away. And so I'm sorry to say that, but that is the facts. Individual education plan. Yeah. While you load says, you look like the streamer Destiny. I haven't thought about that, but I'm gonna keep it to myself. Ilmoth says, haha, my question just got deleted. Oh, well, did you say something offensive? Because that's the only reason why I can think of that happening. I don't have anything. I don't do that. I don't delete questions. So that's YouTube. You gotta talk to YouTube about that. 2019 Veloster says, liberals breaking down over the results thinking the world is going to end. Well, I think that we have a completely valid expectations for that. We listen to the things that Trump and Republicans were saying they're going to do, and we believe that those things are going to be disastrous for everybody. And I do not think that is an overreaction at all, and I think it's weird that you don't think that is the case, Veloster. Like, why do you think that things are going to be fine when the things that Trump is threatening to do could hurt a lot of people and probably will? Let's see here. Charlie Mofo Compton, IEPs are not going away. States will be responsible for them, but not if they can't afford them. Charlie, that's the entire reason why the Department of Education exists, is to help states with programs they can't afford to have on themselves. Forest Fighter 4, what do you think of Trump wanting U.S. to have control over the Panama Canal? The fact that he is touting these like weirdly, expansionist empire-esque policies like taking over Canada and the Panama Canal, like, you know, it's throwing elbows. It's creating more adversaries as opposed to building more alliances. It is helping create discord instead of create peace globally. It's what Trump thinks a strong leader is, which is dumb. Like, oh, strong leader annexes other countries. Like, that's what Russia's doing, and they're great. So yeah, I think it's dumb. I think he's dumb. you know, I think it's probably all talk. I think the worst thing that can happen is if it's not all talk. So we should hope. We should hope that he's just being an asshole. Overstreet family, do you think we will ever see Trump in a courtroom again? I don't. He's just a little too rich and powerful to ever see accountability. I think that there is. If I was going to put money on anything happening during the Trump administration, it would be him going for a third term. I believe it is his intention to die in office. And so if he is able to take over the American government in the way that Project 2025 and all of his advisors are saying that he's going to try to do, and make it harder for people to vote against him and Republicans, I think it's an open question as to whether or not he gets away with it. But if he does, then yeah, he's never going to see the inside of a courtroom. If he doesn't get away with it and he's out after 4 years, then it depends on who takes over after him. Are they going to have a Attorney General, Justice Department who is open to trying to get accountability for the crimes that he has committed? Does he pass away before the end of his first 4 years? I think the odds of him seeing some accountability have gone down dramatically since winning this election in 2024. Let's see here. Chris says, you should adopt nihilism. I don't believe in nihilism. I believe in things. M. Clar, if you want to find out who owns TikTok, insult President Xi. No, thank you. Mo, is Bibi going to accept a ceasefire? Probably not, is my guess. I mean, I'm of two minds about this. Like, sometimes shitty people who are in league with each other will do things performatively, Like, I don't put it past certain corporations to lower costs to give the impression that Trump is doing a good job. I don't put it past Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire and then quietly continue doing war crimes against the people of Palestine in order to make it seem like Trump is this great peacemaker. But yeah, I don't think so. I think that both Putin and Netanyahu have made it clear that Trump does not get to say what happens in their wars. And so I don't know. That is not a prediction that I feel confident making at all. M. Clark says, I thought Trump was going to be a dictator. If he's a dictator, he's not leaving. Yeah, again, that's what I said. I said he's going to try and die in office. That's literally what I said. The Ilmoth says, what's Trump going to do with transgenders? Do you suggest both nationally and globally? I mean, I don't know how much power he has globally to do that. I mean, I think he can encourage other nations to adopt anti-LGBTQIA policies. But I think that him and his administration are just going to make life harder for everybody in the LGBTQIA community, particularly the trans community, who has been squarely in the sights of the Republican Party for the last, 8 years or so. So yeah, I feel really bad for all those people. I do not have faith that this country is going to be safe for them going forward. Big Thicky, do you think Trump smells better than Biden? No, I do not. All the anecdotal evidence suggests that he shits his pants constantly. Temp, do you think he'd use nukes just out of curiosity to see what they do to people and objects? I don't. It's such a big fucking move. It seems like one of those things that even he would be worried about doing. So yeah. I doubt it. But again, I don't know. The first 4 years, he was really tempered by the non-psychopaths in his administration. So we don't know if that was something that he wanted to do back then. And staffing his entire government with sycophants who will just say yes to whatever he wants, which again is his intention. And it just depends on whether the Republicans in the Senate will allow him to do that, and the Supreme Court will allow him to do that. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to fucking do? It's terrifying. It's really, really scary. All right, it is almost 1 o'clock, so I'm going to begin wrapping up. I'm going to do my outro, and then I'm going to do some final questions. I always do final questions after the outro, so stick around. Do not dip, but I hope that you guys all enjoyed my live. I'm currently on the road, but I am able to spend the next 3 days at home, which I'm very hype about, so I'll be able to do my regular streaming schedule of noon Pacific Standard Time. And I usually start early because I really like doing these. If my schedule ever changes, you will see it on TikTok or on my website, jarrettberenstein.com. That is where all the updates will be. If you want to come see me do stand-up live, all of my dates are on my website, and I am currently on the road in California, so you can come see me if depending on where you live, and I'm going to Hawaii as well to do a couple of shows there too. Yes, please do not be despondent. Please do not be cynical. Please do the work. If we all do a little bit of work, then nobody has to do a lot of work. We get through this next 4 years by helping each other. So just do the work and help each other. Nobody lets go of anybody's hand. If you need places to go for where you can volunteer, where you can send your money, run for something, Vote Save America, Indivisible, and follow AOC because it seems like she has got her finger on the pulse of, where the good help is taking place. So yeah, check out my videos, share my videos, share the live. I appreciate all the support that you guys can give me, whether it is the free kind, like leaving comments, liking, sharing, telling your friends how great my live stream is, or if you can afford it, there are also money types of support like gifts, joining my Patreon. I have 0 Patreon subscribers still. I have a Spring store that you can buy shit from as well. But again, you don't have to do that. I know that we're all suffering through a cost of living crisis. All right, let's get to some final questions. Tay, do you have YouTube? Yes, I do. Zigarde, I don't know if it's a question, but let me join you live one day. LOL. Maybe. We'll see, Ligarde. Mo says, is greater Israel possible? I don't know what you mean by greater Israel. Jenny PSSY says, should there be mandatory training for politicians? That's an interesting idea. I don't know what kind of training would be necessary. I'm also worried that that would be weaponized by the right, where the training would be beating any progressive ideologies or, desires out of their bodies or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question. What do you think an ideal training scheme would look like? Sky Operator, do you think Trump will attempt a third term through amendment or SCOTUS? I don't know how he's going to attempt it, but he is 100% going to attempt it. I will say this again. I will say it a million times. If I was going to put money on anything over the next 4 years, it is this. Trump's intention is to die in office. So he's going to do everything he can to stay in office, whether it is through legal or illegal means. Julie says, where is Joe Biden? The White House, I think. Let's see here. Clar, we don't have to do any work. We just pull up all liberal networks reels of last 10 years. I don't know what you mean by that, McClar. Temp, society has been moving towards progressivism. Is this a bump in the road or the end? It's a really good question because depending on what metrics you look at, there are people who would argue that we are not moving towards progressivism. It's a difficult question because there's also a difference between what people say they believe when you poll them and how they vote. So, I don't know. In my personal opinion, this has nothing to do with people's ideologies, and it has everything to do with incumbency bias and the information environment and social media being so easy to manipulate to help the right-wing and right-wing politicians. So, yeah, I don't know. Right now, I think it has to do with the logistics of government. If we were somehow able to distill everybody's beliefs down to their core and elect our politicians based on that, then I agree with you that we would be seeing a wave of progressive politicians. But there are a lot of roadblocks in between people's beliefs and how they vote, and I don't know. It's a really difficult question to answer. Jenny PSSY says, what is the most pressing political issue in the country today? I think it's the information environment. I think social media and misinformation and disinformation. Sophia Marseille, will a woman ever be nominated again? Absolutely. McClar, we've all the evidence we need for Trump to shut down MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. But is that what you want, McClar? Because I don't want that. Toby Zhang, are you right-wing or left-wing? Left-wing. Joshua Cowis, do you foresee the political parties regaining control of their extremes and focusing on the middle ground? I don't. The Trump administration is fully in charge of the Republican Party, and they represent the far right. And depending on who you ask, they will tell you that the Democratic Party is already too far to the left or too far to the right. There is no consensus on whether the Democratic Party is extreme or centrist. But the right wing of this country is extreme. It is extreme. That is a full stop, period. They are extreme. The people that are in power in the Republican Party are the extreme members of the Republican Party. Even centrists like Mitch McConnell are too close to the center for the far right of the Republican Party. And that includes the people in the Supreme Court. The people in control of the Republican Party and now in control of our government are the extreme right wing of the Republican Party. So, yeah, no, I don't see that happening on the right. And I don't even agree that it's something that should happen on the left. All right, Black Cat Comics says the left has been extreme since Reagan left the party. I do not agree with that at all, Black Cat comments. Temp, we don't even have health care. We're not nearly left enough. I agree with that. Black Cat comments says Republicans are extreme, but no proof of the left is ignorant. I do not believe that you're here in good faith, Black Cat, so you are out of here. All right, Temp, all right, let's see here. Daniel Mikuski, Mr. Politics, how do you interpret the results of the election? I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. The left was hurt by an incumbency bias and also by the information environment, which has been weaponized against the left. Let's see here. Brewster, small federal government with focus on liberty versus big, expensive, intrusive federal government. That is not a question, dude. Toby Zhang, Biden is good to deal with COVID-19. Trump did better for the economy. I am right, by the way. When you say you're right, do you mean you're right wing, or are you establishing that you are correct, Toby? Because I do not believe that Trump was better for the economy. I think he inherited a strong economy by Obama, and it was destroyed by Trump. You know, all of the things that we felt negative during the Biden administration economically were caused by the Trump administration. So yeah, I do not, the economy always does better under Democratic administrations than Republican administrations, and Trump is absolutely no exception to that. He is the reason why inflation spiked, among other things that were bad economically. So yeah, I do not agree with that statement one tick, Toby Zhang. Overstreet Family says, why do you think only one side gets other country influence in elections? I haven't seen any evidence that other countries are meddling in our elections the way that adversarial nations are. I'm sure that it exists. I think Iran actually did some shit to try to hurt the Trump campaign because he assassinated their general, Qasem Soleimani. Well, excuse me. Yeah, I think the difference is that the Republican Party is in league with the, election meddling, whereas the Democratic Party attempts to be above board and does not accept assistance from foreign nations because it's against the law, Charlie Mofo Compton, how was Trump responsible for inflation? Excellent question. All right, that's going to be my last one, Charlie. Patricia asks, how do we convince everyone for universal health care? Tell them it's better. Tell them it's cheaper. That's it. That's just the facts. All right. How is Trump responsible for inflation? This is going to be my last one. Okay. We're going to put Biden administration just put sanctions on Russia today for meddling in the 2024 election. Great. I'm happy about that. Okay. So Trump fucked up the COVID response. He fucked it up really bad. It didn't need to be nearly as bad as it was, but he fucked it up. He fucked it up a bunch of different ways. He destroyed the agency that was supposed to stop pandemics like this before they begin. And then when the pandemic hit America, he said every state for themselves. He said, you guys deal it by yourselves. There was no federal response. There was no federal assistance to create PPE or shit like that. And because of that, and additionally, he encouraged people to not do the things that doctors were recommending. He was like, don't wear a mask, don't socially distance, don't close your businesses, shit like that. All of that hurt the economy because, it was shuttering businesses, number one, but it also hurt supply chains. And when supply chains get hurt, then inventory goes down. And when inventory goes down, demand goes up. That is just basic economics. So then prices start going up, all right? There were also some price increases because of tariffs that he had put on other countries. He famously put a tariff on lumber coming from Canada, lumber that we needed to build more housing. And that is part of the reason why we are suffering through a cost of housing crisis as well, because we weren't able to build enough units. Additionally, because he fucked up COVID so hard, and he wanted the economy to keep on chugging along, they lowered interest rates down to zero, which means that people that had a lot of money could borrow money for free. And that meant that a lot of private equity borrowed a ton of money and started buying up other businesses and also buying up houses so that they could turn us all into permanent renters. That wouldn't have happened if COVID hadn't gotten fucked so hard that we needed to lower interest rates down to zero. Okay, so now we've got all that in the stew. And then there's one final piece of the puzzle, and it's not necessarily on Trump particularly, but it is the fault of the Republican ideology, which is that monopolization has been running rampant since the Reagan administration. And even Democratic administrations have fallen for this idea that we need to let the free market handle monopolization, and what monopolization is changes definitions, blah, blah, blah. The Biden administration was the first administration since Reagan that started cracking down on monopolies in a way that they should have been, and the voters rewarded him by replacing all the Democrats in government with Republicans. But because monopolization was able to happen, now everything is owned by basically like 10 companies, and they were able to raise prices without there being any competition. And that is what accounted for 60% of the price increases that we have felt. Every economist agrees on this, that 60% of the price increases that happened during the Biden administration were not caused by inflation, but were just caused by greedflation. Corporations raising costs because they could, because there was no competition, and knowing that everybody would blame the Democrats in office, which has the double advantage of increasing their profits and also making people angry at Democrats, the Democratic Party, which wants to regulate industries to try to make them more fair and safe and pollute less, versus helping the Republican Party, which is what corporations want to do because it will cut regulations and make it so that they can pollute without fear of legal reprisal or having to pay extra money to clean up rivers or shit like that, or having to pay minimum wage or having to pay overtime or all the other legal protections that workers usually have. Republicans are going to get rid of those. So that is the reason why Trump caused inflation. The Biden administration brought inflation down from 9% to 2.4%, which is where economists say it should be. And they were rewarded for taking the Trump inflation from 9% down to 2.4% by being voted out of office. So there you go, everybody. Nothing makes sense. The world is fucking bullshit. Everything is terrible. I will see you guys here tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time. I will probably start earlier because I really like doing these. Thanks again for all the comments and for watching, and have an excellent rest of your week, everybody. Hope I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.